So we've just got the sorry, I'll dig it out. Right, so we've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
We were like wondering first of all, like how long does it actually take to make each individual cup? Is it like a long time?
What, individual cups of coffee?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. If you're working quickly, you should be able to make a drink in about a minute. Most drinks we should be able to make in about a minute or so. And like if we're talking about espresso-based drinks, anyhow, if we're making filter coffees, they take a bit longer. But the majority of drinks we make for the espresso machine are about a minute 30. If you're having a
It's pretty rapid.
Yeah. It should be. It depends how good the person behind the machine is.
Yeah.
The more experience you have and the better you are at it, the quicker you can make drinks. It depends on the workflow, really.
So with your machine and everything, is it set out sort of in the order that you that things are like processed?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm always trying to review the workflow of how we have things and where we have them, and to make sure it works properly. Just today, I moved the takeaway cups from being on the left-hand side of the machine to being on the right-hand side, because that makes more sense, essentially. We've just always done it. Had it on right at the after reach. If there's one when you're busy, you tend to have one person pulling shots. So that's what, like making the espressos, and another person steaming milk. And that, if you separate the jobs like that, it means they can go through drinks more quickly. And often we had the cups on the wrong side, so we moved them to the other side, because then the person pulling the espressos can kind of pass them along and dictate what you're making, rather than having to reach over the other person, which just is inconvenient. But we've got it laid out pretty well now, I'd say, because basically you've got a right to left flow where you've got the person taking the order, grinding the coffee, making the espressos, and the person on the end is steaming the milk with the pitchers, and they've also got a fridge next to them. There's a really good piece of equipment which isn't available in the UK yet.
So how many people do you have operating the machine at the same time, and how many would be necessary?
Oh right, it depends on levels of busyness. At the moment, when we're busy, we have 2 on the machine.
Yeah.
I've seen machines which are longer, which give you more workspace, which are quite good. I know some people have 3 group machines. Group heads are the things which you put lock port filters in. And they have them just not because they need the extra group head, because I don't know many baristas who can manage 3 group heads at a time. It's more for the fact you get extra space to play with. But there's places I've seen where they've got one person pulling shots, one person steaming milk, one person pouring milk, and one person taking drinks away. I've also seen people who have one person pulling shots, one person pouring milk, and then a team of people running the drinks, but they actually just pour the drink, then take it. So there's different ways of running it. But at the moment we have just 2 at that level of business.
2 is like the sort of optimum of this.
At that stage, If we got busier, we'd probably got having 3 and having one person pouring drinks as well. So one person, it gets a bit monotonous and gets to a point where you're just in a production line rather than having a feel like you. At the moment, it feels you have a hand on all the drink. So you pull a shot, you steam the milk, you pass it on, which is quite nice.
Right, yeah.
But then if you're just doing the same action over and over again, it becomes more like you have to really concentrate on what you're doing. Otherwise, it could get really crap because you get monotonous.
It gets a bit tedious.
It could get tedious if you don't take it seriously. Yeah. But that's for the future when we get busier. So. Yeah.
Okay. How long does it actually take to clean your equipment and stuff?
On an evening, for a clean, it probably takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Because you have to. I can walk you through a cleaning, or if you wanted to see it and what we do. But it's simply you're just going to take off the parts, clean them, give them a wash, and backflush the machine.
Yeah.
There's some machines now we have automation in terms of backflushing, so you can kind of lock in group heads and the machine will do it itself. You can go back to it once you've cleaned other parts and come back to it, so they will only take about 4 or 5 minutes to clean. But because we have to do it manually, we've got about 10-15 minutes.
Is there any way that it could be made a lot easier or anything like that?
The automation on the machines does make it a lot easier. Some advances that mean that we're only cleaning for 10-15 minutes, such as our port filters are now stainless steel. They used to be made of coated copper. And stainless steel just literally wipe clean now. I've seen Teflon coating, but I think with the stainless steel, I wouldn't need Teflon coating.
It's a bit too expensive. So.
Well, it's just not really necessary. To tell the truth, when it comes to making coffee, it's kind of like people who take it seriously don't really worry too much about spending money. It's kind of like my friend's a cyclist. He spends ridiculous amounts of money on bikes. He rides once, twice a week. It's kind of like X plus 1, X being the current number of bikes you have, plus 1 being the number that you need. X, that's the equation. It's like anything.
I'll tell you what, like one of my mates back home, he came out on this bike for it was just like a normal mountain bike. But he came out and it was really lightweight aluminium and everything. I was asking him how much it was. He was like, oh yeah, the frame alone just cost like $3,000. I was like, I only paid like £1 or something for my car. It's ridiculous.
It's like, well, it's when it comes to things like in terms of making coffee, we tend to think about if it makes our life easier and quicker, we are happy to take a bit of hit on the money, because also it's a little bit of boys' toys. Quite a lot of boys' toys. If it's quite a cool gadget, it's like picture rinsers, which mine's broken at the moment. Still.
So what's that? That's broken.
That basically it's a little thing that you turn upside. Basically, it's got a little draining tray next to the machine.
Yeah.
On that is which you might have seen in pubs before, where you turn upside down and it sprays the glass. It's the same thing, but it sprays the picture the glass. When you steam milk, you want your jug to be cold and fresh and clean.
We had one of them at work actually.
And you turn it upside down and it goes, squares it. It's one of those. It's the one that I've got is poorly designed because it's based around an O-ring which is broken, and I haven't had a chance to change it. A better design, and it takes. I'd say it's a 10-minute job, but I need to go buy more O-rings, and then I also need to change it, which is about 20 minutes.
A hassle.
And so it's a hassle, but it's good to have when it works, and it's a cool little gadget, but it's just a hassle at the moment. So something like that, which was better designed, would be better. But yeah, it's really annoying for the fact that you look at it and it's like it's built on an O-ring. O-rings aren't designed to be kind of
constantly open.
Well, open and closed, and basically it's suffering stress. It's being stressed each time it opens and closes, and it's meant to just be O-rings are intended to seal something, and it's just being stressed every time you use it, which is obviously going to break.
Well, a lot of what we do is it's material stresses and strains, that sort of thing, material analysis, that sort of thing. So
it's obvious really when you think about it. It's just sat there and it's just poor design.
But that's really irritating that as well, because can you not tell when it's going to go?
You can notice it's getting worse, and it's just basically maybe it starts trickling rather than just like running free, and it's just like, oh, I'm going to have to change that, and it becomes a ticking clock, and then you have to change it, and every time you do it takes 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. So, but anything I've seen a really cool device that isn't available in the UK at the moment, but I know everybody I know will probably buy one because they're really good.
Yeah.
It's called the Juggler. If you look at the Juggler, it's available in the Australian market at the moment. They probably do have patents. I'm not sure if they're worldwide. If you want to rip them off. Basically, it's a milk dispensing machine. It's got 2 taps which sit. And it's got a picture insert integrated. And you put your jug, and it can tell what size the jug is, and then it dispenses the right size amount of milk for that jug. So that we spend our day bending down, picking up the milk out the fridge, pouring it in, putting it away, putting it back in the fridge to keep it cold and fresh. And that just basically is a little tap which comes from a heated container, and underneath it uses the bladder rather than using individual milk cartons. So you need to get dairy on board to do it with you. But if you can use a bladder, obviously you can use a big bladder of 4 or 5 gallons of milk rather than using lots of individual milk cartons. It's a really cool piece of kit, but I reckon the taking over the Aussie market at the moment. But anything in that design, I've seen people use milk hurdles, which are available in the UK, which is like a similar thing, but you use it on the back. They're ugly and they take the bar space, and they're not very good. So yeah.
Would you say that just sort of saying from that obviously the milk's a bit of an awkward place, having to compare stuff.
Yeah.
Would you say that the placement of all the ingredients in is probably maybe a little bit awkward when you're going and moving around and stuff?
Yeah. If the placement of ingredients is awkward at the moment because you've got an ingredient that needs to be chilled, and it needs to be chilled to the point that you're using it, and so it's really annoying for the fact that you have to keep it in the fridge. But if you leave it on the side, you can leave it on the side if you're busy until you go through that bottle, but the milk is degrading the whole time it's sat on the side. The longer it's sat out in a chilled environment, the faster the degradation of the milk is, and so the quality of your milk that you're serving won't be as good as if it was in the fridge until you took it out and poured it. So one thing I've actually noticed, because we have been leaving milk on the side while we're using it, like you see it there now. When we were quieter, the milk generally was better because it was in the fridge. It was in the fridge longer, and then when you took it out and then you put it away because you have to maintain it outside the fridge, Whereas now, if we kept it in the fridge for the whole bottle for every drink, you'd be always just up and down, up and down, up and down. So it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's a conflict there between the two, because you want it to be cold, but at the same time you want it to be convenient, and it's a flaw. It's a really annoying, but anyhow. So the ingredient placement is incorrect at the moment, and if we could address that would be good. But also, I care about aesthetic. It needs
it has to have a nice aesthetic.
it needs to look right, because you could have something which is. I'd say that industrial. Industrial can be good, but
2 cappuccinos. Okay, who would like Alison's lovely one and my monstrosity? Okay. There you go, guys.
Cheers, thank you.
So milk, anything to do that, like, it's just, as you know, something that looks nice. It's, if you try and describe why iPhone looks nice, it's hard to describe, but it just looks really well designed. It looks. Good use of materials as well, and it's well designed, and you just kind of go, that's really nice. It's almost to a degree, it's like looking at that roaster. That roaster is well designed, it does the job really well, and it's quite pretty, but in its own special way. You don't mind it, I
quite like this sort of like the stainless steel, the whole stainless steel, like chrome sort of thing.
It looks really good, but it's just to have you wouldn't want something ugly in your shop, because you spend a lot of time and effort making your shop not ugly.
So do you think that your machines you've got at the moment, they have like the aesthetic appeal that you're sort of going for? Are they
this one, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. I do like it. It's nice. I'm thinking about getting the panels powder coated, just to have it slightly.
Powder coated.
Just to it's boys and toys.
I know what you're saying.
Because that looks like every Lamazocco GB5 you'll see, because that's what they come out like the factory.
Are they like quite commonly used? Are they?
Not in the north of England. You can see a few more popping up around London. Ours is slightly different, because we've got mechanical paddle, which means you can manually control the infusion on it. So you can either have it at line pressure, which is 3 bar, or you can have it at 9 bars of pressure, and it means that we can control the infusion on it. On reflection,
That's a cup of coffee.
good man, thank you.
It's a really good cup of coffee.
Good, thank you. It's because we at the moment we're pre-infusing for 10 seconds, and then we're going up to 9 bar, and that we're doing that manually because it's a lot cheaper. It's like £6,000 cheaper than getting the machine that does it automatically. Because it's even then, my friend who's got a shop down in Bath has got one, and he's changed. Basically, they use individual pumps on on each group head to control the pressure. And he's had every motor change, and he's had it for like a year. He's had every motor on each group head change. It's new technology, so it is flawed, but at the same time, it's not what you want ever. Because if your machine's not working, that means you're not making money essentially, and that's it's costing you money, but also you're not actually it costs you money to get fixed, and also it's not making any money.
So have you had problems like that with yours?
No, because that's one of the reasons why I went for it, for the fact that I've got a slight control, and basically it's actually based around. It's just like I say, mechanical. If you put in, if you Googled the video on how it works, GS3 mechanical paddle. If you put GS-3 Lamazocco mechanical paddle, there's actually a video on how it works, and it's actually based, annoyingly enough, around O-rings that fit open and close. But it's obviously been more thoroughly designed than for how much it costs. It should, because it's like. The machine itself costs us £6,500, but you can get machines from £1,000 up, to give you an idea. But at the same time, there's newer machines on the market which cost 10 to 12, which are fantastic, but it's just a kind of finding the level which you can afford to pay to a degree as well. But aesthetically, there's a lot of things I'd like to do to it, but it's just to make it look better, really. I'm not upset with the aesthetic, but at the same time, I quite like it. I think I mentioned before, a machine that sits below the bar, because if you look at the bar area there, it just takes up loads of space.
And is there actually nothing underneath the...
Well, underneath there's a motor, but it's an external motor, so you can kind of isolate the noise.
Oh yeah, so it's it's not right on the top.
Right on the top, not making loads of noise. But if it was underneath anyhow, you could incorporate the motor into the machine. But underneath we've got a row of in the gap underneath we have a water filter which can be located somewhere else because it just needs to be before the machine, between the water line and the water and the machine itself and the motor. So you could take the whole space and anything that you're storing inside, move it on top or move somewhere else. It's just kind of it takes up a lot of space on the bar, and I think that is not really a good thing, really.
No,
it's just like if you could reduce it, it'd be good.
It's quite like a barrier between your customer sort of thing.
Yeah, that's one thing. It depends on your environment, but especially for what we try to do, we try to have conversations as much as possible with people and try and talk about coffee as a flavour and experience more than just a convenience thing. Because you can go to coffee shops where you can get served very quickly and have a big Starbucks and it will be caramel shots and it does what you want it to do, and you've got a certain expectation of that level of what you're going to get. At the moment we offer 2 espressos, each of them taste different, and we want people to make a choice over what they're drinking and how they're experiencing it, and maybe appreciate the fact that it's better than what you can get somewhere else. And I feel having that barrier between you sometimes could be easier if you could actually. Well, one thing some people I was talking about the brew bar, which is, do you see the 2 cups?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about moving that just to getting 2 holes cut in the bar and having the cup set underneath and having the jugs that they brew into underneath, so you can't see them. But then a lot of people said that they like the fact that they can see it brewing. And so if you could have some type of machine where you had like maybe the group head and the person can actually see you extracting the coffee, because it'll actually look quite attractive.
It does look
quite, when you see coffee extracting through a port filter, it can look really, really attractive. So if you could have it so that people could see that, they could actually add to the experience and also probably add to the aroma of the coffee, because there's less between you and the person. So you can on our side we can actually kind of smell it coming at the extraction, whereas on your side you've got a machine behind you between you, and it's probably not going to come all the way around and over. So it could kind of add to the visual experience and also just the feel of the place. That would work really well. I look pretty sick.
Yeah, so we've got just one or two more questions.
No, go.
That's right. Are there any other than what you've already mentioned, specifically with the machines that you've got there?
Yeah.
Are there any other problems whatsoever? Anything else you've run into?
It's ergonomically poorly designed. To work efficiently, I like to put 2 port filters in a position at the same time. To be able to do that, each and every time I do that, I have to first move the steam one out the way to be able to do it.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I just should be able to just do it and not worry about steam ones. It's not ergonomic. Also, maybe a bit more like somehow have it, because the person, if you have got 2 people in the machine and one person is pulling shots and the person steam milk, I'm like right next to you. If you could have it separated out, so I've got my group heads at this end and my steam ones on the other end, that would make sense. Or even 2 steam ones next to each other, so you've got 2 people stood next to each other if they're steaming milk and you're busy, and then you've got the other person pulling shots at the other end. Because right now we have it so you've got a steam one at each end, group heads in the middle. Whereas if I'm busy, I want 2 people steaming milk, then I've got a person in my way here, a person in my way here, and I want to get to my grinder here. If you had the group heads on one side and the steam ones on the other, that could make sense, because then I could just kind of I could be doing what I do, the other person could be doing what they do, and that could make sense. The fact that they kill scales over and over again, and there's no, basically we weigh our shots. So I've got a brew recipe. Today it's 26 seconds. 18.5 grams in. Over 26 seconds we get 28 grams out for the Rwandan that we're serving today. And what we do is weigh the coffee amount. Well, we weigh the amount of coffee that goes in when we set up the grinder, and that stays pretty consistent within about 0.3 of a gram variance. Then we weigh the coffee that comes out, and we try and do that, because we do it by eye, but your eye isn't very consistent and depends on the coffee. So what we do is we put the scales on the drip tray and we weigh the shots as basically we weigh the espresso as it comes through.
Yeah.
And when it hits we stop when it hits the desired weight. Or we check that against the time of basically the run time and make sure that's the right specs, and then we know it's going to taste right. That's our recipe for the day, and if we know it's doing that, we don't have to taste every shot. We taste a few shots as we go to make sure it's still right, but we don't have to taste as many shots, and we can be confident that you're going to be tasting the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, so it's very, very exact.
Yeah, it is, and But the thing is, to do that, and it's a very common thing what we do now, especially in specialty coffee, we have to put scales on the bar regularly, and there's no ingress resistant scales out there. I've googled it, I've searched, I looked on Alibaba to see if I could get a supply made and sent over. I can't find ingress resistant scales when they're going to be basically waterproof scales, that are gram scales. So you get gram scales. If only drug dealers sold liquid based drugs, because it would be everywhere. There'd be hundreds out there. Yeah.
Up off eBay for £3 or something.
Exactly, but they don't. Everything's dry, which is annoying. So it's just simply a case of what we do now. We accept the fact that we're going to spend between £12 and £30 a month on scales, which is annoying.
And they constantly keep going.
Oh yeah. We've actually got to change the battery on one for the first time in the 11 and 17 Open. We've actually managed to change the battery on one. I was like, wow, it's battery's dying. It's lasted so long. The battery is dying. That was been here about a month and a half. And it's just like, so we generally have 3 sets of scales on at the same time. We've got 2 on at the moment. But because you need 2 on the machine and 1 for weighing other stuff.
And for a month and a half as well, that's not long for like a battery to run out and stuff. So you must be using it.
Oh yeah, it's literally always on and off. So it's it's quite because all it's powering essentially is the weight and a little LED screen as well. So it's not exactly a big power draw on it either. So
that's pretty bad that actually.
It is really, but you think if you add it up over say worst case scenario, £30 a month over a year, 360 quid.
It's just and it's a pain and a nuisance, right?
Yeah, you have to go and buy them, you have to go and find them. But then if 360 quid a year, but then the convenience of having something which was a lot better and worked every time, and you didn't have to move on and off.
Yeah.
I'll happily pay £500 to £1,000 for something which is probably not that hard to design.
Yeah.
When you actually think about it.
It is quite simple.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's not. It's so simple that no one's really thought. To do
well, it's just even an ingress with the way I'd probably go about doing it, even if you could make it retrofittable, I'd design a set of scales, probably ripping off a current design, so you didn't have to get new tools cut. Because if you go up to China, you have to get tools cut, and that's the expensive part. Do you mind if I draw on something? And I'd probably get a set of scales, which is like that, and different machines have different model of machines, have different types of drip tray. So I'd do like a retrofitting service. So I'd sell you my scales, which are retro, and I'd charge you 500 quid, and I'll send you basically 2 sets of scales that go in your drip tray, and I'll basically machine your drip tray to fit those scales. So I'll cut 2 holes out, 2 holes out, and that'll fit that'll fit on any machine, and then you could do it, and then it's a service that's really easy to offer, and that'd be a really cool way of doing it. And then it'd just be a matter of networking, and the coffee community in the UK is very tight. But I'm guessing ingress resistant scales is probably be a lot of uses out there which aren't just me and my geekiness, essentially.
And in this case as well, they wouldn't be any very intrusive into sort of your coffee making environment. They'd fit in.
It's basically really simple. It just sits on there. It disappear into what you use on a daily basis, and then sit underneath your port filters. And jobs are good. It'd be really straightforward and easy to make in my head, anyhow. But I'm not a designer or somebody who has the time or effort to go about doing it. But you know what I mean? I've mentioned it to my friend who's in lighting. He's actually got a factory in China which makes lights, and he said, "Yeah, that'd be really easy to do." I was like, "Do you want to do it?" He was like, "No, I haven't got time." But it's
there's a lot of design going into it.
Well,
it's simple, but
it's simple, but it's just complicated at the same time. Because you basically need the knowledge of how scales work, and then how to make them ingress resistant, and then get it basically tooled up and made, and then just. But it's a business for somebody out there. But if you even an ideal espresso machine would be, you've got your bar with a drip tray built in, then you've got a portafilter that comes out over your bar, and then goes back down to your machine that's underneath with all your workings underneath. What I'd probably do. The things you need to do, the modern thing is to have a group head temperature. So I'd have a PID in here, which regulates my temperature. I'd make these massively big and made out of copper, or brass, which really holds the heat in. So big brass, maybe like almost a kilo of brass in the group head to maintain the temperature, but add a PID in there, so I'll get a group head temperatures, which is because that's what I want to know, because that's where my coffee is hitting the water. it's all well and good knowing what temperature the water is in the boiler. So at the moment, my machine works off having, it's 0.1 degree accuracy, but they've got the boiler and it's got the PID in the boiler. So the sensor for the boiler is in there, and then it's got an offset of, I think it's 3 degrees of what they reckon you lose to the group head. So they're guessing at it to a degree. So it's actually not. It's not 200. The accuracy is pretty good. They've actually managed to do it really quite well, but that is better. So and then you have the machine underneath.
I assume this is what you have on yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I have the machine underneath. So I'd have the PIDs in here, regulate the boiler temperature in here, have the bar on there, have drip scales in my drip terror, and then I'd have maybe a thing coming out over here, or even have them to one side. So you have 2 things like this. And two steam ones coming out here with some type of actuator to get them on and off, and then jobs are good. I'd buy the old machine,
that encompasses all your sort of problems.
Yeah, that would it would be a clear bar. You'd have your steam ones on one side, your group heads on the other, and you have be able to weigh your shots, and I'd be really happy. And also make it volumetric rather than manual, but that's another thing, which is a different thing. But basically, you'd have flow meters sat here, and you could program them to dispense a regular amount of liquid, and then you could also that you could check with the scales, and it would be because you get a flow meter you can use to say I want 35 ml of liquid, and it will let round about between 30 and 40 ml of liquid through. It's pretty accurate, or even more. I think it might be more accurate than that, and you can program it quite easily, and then you can check with the scales.
Oh, excellent.
Well, sorry, I'm just thinking of Dreamland to make a design myself coffee machine now.
Well, this is perfect for what we need, because we like, obviously you're like the sort of client we'd be looking at, and we need a very specific, like, because obviously you've got a very specific machine that's like specific to your needs, but it's not quite there still.
No, it's still a bit crap. It's we've got the best that we could get at the time that we're making a purchase, but there's a list of advancements that can make what we do a lot better, and a lot just in terms of how we communicate what we do to people and make it clear that, and also to a degree, if we could have a machine that kind of separated us out from your Starbucks or something else and said this is more of a specialty machine, because then you get people have expectations, and it's the same reason why our menu isn't really quite the same as other people. So people look at it and go, that's different, what's going on, and it gives us a little bit of leeway to be able to talk to them, so they have to talk to us, and so we can guide them through it and actually have communication.
It's more of a personal
experience. Because if you came in and you just saw something that you could latch onto straight away, you'd probably just order it and you wouldn't get into a conversation. Whereas we kind of encourage a conversation without actually, we'll talk to you, but then we look at the board looking a bit scared. We'll start a conversation. It makes people feel more comfortable, and they feel actually kind of guided through it rather than just being chucked at it, kind of thing.
See, if I knew like exactly what everything on the menu was, I'd probably try and choose the most similar things to what I normally have, which is probably a bit of a bad move, because obviously you want to be trying somewhere like this, you want to try something different. You come in here for something that's...
Well, that's the thing, you come in and everybody likes familiarity, you want something familiar, so it's kind of we've been talking about how being familiar but different. You want something that is kind of, you feel like you're not too uncomfortable, but at the same time, this is not quite the same I normally expect. So that when I start talking about flavours in your coffee, you're like, because it is a bit different in here. And so it's not you're not in Starbucks and the guy in here's talking about peach in his coffee. I'm going to get a massive hit in a peach, and you're like, I'm in Starbucks, I'm going to get Starbucks coffee, So if you have that's kind of what we're looking for. So anything else that could kind of add those signals, when we first opened, we had metal tables and chairs outside, and people kept coming in asking for bacon sandwiches, because we had chairs and tables that made us look like we had bacon sandwiches. Because if you looked at it from the outside, it looks like somewhere that sells bacon sandwiches. So we changed it for one bench and some baker who nicked some things of our baker and put them upside down and put some coffee sack on it, because it doesn't look like we sell bacon sandwiches anymore. It looks like we do something else.
Like a proper,
well, it's just kind of like, it's like, that's not, and people don't come in as often asking for bacon sandwiches, and it's just
not as often.
It still happens. Stag do's on the weekend, just bleary-eyed.
I can imagine.
Yeah, fried around the corner, mate.
Just this one. I bet you just direct them straight to the nearest one. Yeah, right next to the train station as well, so I bet you get a load of.
Yeah, it's fine. We are a coffee shop, so people can expect certain things that other coffee shops offer, but.